start from beginning, but of course it doesn't. Okay, so hi, good morning. My name is Randa Lopez Morgan, and I'm here with Darcy Rohwer, and
Hello.
we are going to be talking about how we collaborate for some of our events and programming. So today, what to expect, we're going to give a very brief history of programming at our individual institutions, how we created a beautiful partnership, some of the events that we got to have this past year. Some of them got postponed this spring, but why does any of this matter? And then looking towards the future, and then also how you can do collaboration at your own library. So programming at LSU, I was made head of programming committee in 2015. These were originally events that were created for finals week, and we evolved throughout the years to include, so midterms went away, and so we started to focus on just programming throughout the semester, with our big programs being at finals week. So a lot of these ideas were standard, free pizza, coloring, pet therapy, etc. But we kept getting fantastic numbers of students. Like, we kept getting a lot of students that were super interested in what we were doing and eager, and they were just like, can we get this more often? And we were like, you know what, we can get this more often, we can do this. And so the position itself went from being the head of a committee to a position at the libraries was created for events and programming. And so I was hired, so the position was advertised in spring 2018, and I was hired in the beginning of fall 2018 into my position now. So some of these pictures, we have pet therapy. The picture on the top right is of them doing DIY Play-Doh, and then the bottom picture is of our relaxation room, which is open during finals week. Also, there's this antiquated idea that libraries, and academic libraries specifically, aren't allowed to have fun things or to be a fun thing. Everyone's like, well, you're a academic library, you need to be doing educational academic programming. And that is true, you should be doing that, but also there is a place for fun and creative and stress relieving programming. And so we're overcoming these misconceptions.
So 20-somethings programming at the EBR Public Library, which is where I work. We have 14 locations total. Now, originally, 20-somethings didn't exist until very recently. We've had programming groups for, children and teens, or like youth age, and adults for sure. But around 2014, the then teen director looked around and realized that there's nothing available for these kind of new adults. The teen programming is very age restrictive, so it's for 6th grade to 12th grade, and once you graduate, we don't let you come to any more of those programs as like kind of a safety precaution for our teens. And there's lots of adult programming, but it was kind of what you would classically consider libraries to do, like book clubs, which are great, but like crochet was one of our big events. And there are plenty of 20-somethings who are interested in that, but there wasn't anything like hip, no fandom things, basically. So she looked around and decided that she wanted to start a committee for 20-somethings, new adults, that would focus on 18 to like 30s. Now, it's not restricted. We do not kick anyone out if we have older patrons who come and even tell us that they're like, oh, I'm too old for this. If they want to do the programs, we're absolutely going to let them. But it's for people who are young at heart, right? So it started out with a committee doing large scale events. They wanted to do a Game of Thrones event. This was like in the height of Game of Thrones shenanigans. And we did a couple of those bigger things that were designed to appeal to 20-somethings, but open to all ages. So it had crafts for younger people. It had activities that everyone could do. We did like pool noodle jousting, all sorts of shenanigans. And so we did a few of those. We did a Harry Potter event. We did another Game of Thrones event. That bottom picture on the slide is a green screen of one of our Game of Thrones events from 2019, which was our last one. But after we started doing these big events, we had people asking for smaller things, just like typical programs. So we expanded out to do them at different libraries, and now we offer 20-somethings programming at every library location at least once a month. So this top picture is a picture from a Harry Potter escape room that I ran last year. The middle one is from an interactive movie that we did for Labyrinth, which was super adorable. But it's just kind of expanded out to be fun programming for everyone, but focused on that kind of fandom, early adult age group.
And Darcy started also, oh, I don't, oh, hold on. I don't, you kind of got caught up there. And then Darcy was also, she got hired in the spring of 2018, which also made everything like really easy for our collaboration going forward.
Yeah, sorry. There was no programming librarian for that that position, and they opened one in spring of 2018, and that's when I got hired in officially. EBRPL is in Baton Rouge. We're the Baton Rouge Public Library System.
Okay, so programming itself, when we first started, we were very small at LSU, and we didn't have like a very large programming budget. Our programming budget was larger than what a lot of libraries, academic libraries, programming budgets are just in general. But again, we were still just focusing on those exam week activities, and we recognize that EBRPL had a larger budget than we do for programming. That's a lot of their stuff is just programming. And so initially, one of our ideas was to have a bookmobile program on campus. So we've got with the outreach bookmobile team, and it just really didn't go as well as we were hoping it would go. And there were so many reasons for this. Mostly, if you've ever been to LSU libraries, you know that there's really not a spot for a bookmobile. They wouldn't let us put it in the quad. I tried. We had to put it behind the library. We had to pay for parking spaces. The bookmobile is huge, so it took up like 10 spaces. And so it just really didn't work out like we were hoping. So I discovered that there were 20-something programs at the library through a flyer, and I used my connections. My partner works at EBRPL in the tech department, and I was trying to get him to come on board with me and do a program, but he was not into it. And so he was like, you should work with Darcy. And he was like, you'll get along, you should do this. And I was like, all right, sure, send me your email. And so he sent me Darcy's email, and in March 2018, we began to discuss partnership opportunities. We met at an Izzo's and was just like, this could work. We can do these things. So we talked about ideas that we had, things that we could benefit from for each other. I have access to unlimited amounts of 20-somethings. They need more 20-somethings. And so then eventually we actually got hired into our positions, which made everything go a lot more easier. And so, yeah, and then we had to like get our approvals for this. And so this was basically what took up entire 2018, was just the spring meeting, getting the approvals. And Darcy, would you like to talk about y'all's side of it?
Yeah, we were definitely really interested in doing programming outside of the library, but we have a separate outreach department, which is great, but they handle all of our outside programming for the most part. So in teens especially, which is 20-somethings is based out of teens because that's the director who was excited about running it. But teens does not generally do any kind of outside programming. So all of the programs that we run are based in the library. So it wasn't like a big push, but it took some talking to decide that we were going to kind of spread our programming out to a different location that's not built into the library system.
Yeah, so that was scary, but I think both agreed that, okay, if this could work, so this is the cartoon, okay, if we work together, Waymo depth perception. So if we work together, we could reach a group of young adults who are eager about the libraries, but maybe just don't know that we exist. So
yeah,
with our powers combined,
we do things. So these are the programs that we've gotten to do so far. We started out kind of low key, I guess, with a Nintendo Switch program. So 20-somethings in the public library is based out of teens, and we have access to video game systems already. So we literally just brought a Nintendo Switch, Randa rolled the TV out into the lobby of Middleton, and we just kind of set it up and started hassling students to come play Mario Kart with us. And it was great fun. We had 20 students actually come and play games with us, but we had tons more stop by and kind of, what are you doing? What's happening here? How long are you going to be here? I'd love to come back and do something. So it was definitely a successful first event. So the next big thing that we did, Randa planned this huge, amazing library house party where she was expected to entertain 6,000 students.
Yeah, we were supposed to have 6,000 incoming freshmen. It was a very, very stressful. They were basically like, the university was like, you are going to have this event. You're going to do it. It needs to be in the library. Also, there's no budget. Also, good luck on entertaining 6,000 students in a library building that's usually closed that late at night. Also, it was like from like 9 to midnight or something, or 9 to 11. It was a ridiculous time for anyone to be in the library during Welcome Week, but we had it and it was awesome. And Darcy and the EBRPL team saved my life.
It was super fun. We brought out 2 virtual reality systems for them to play with, and 2 of our Nintendo Switch systems for them to play as like easy things to set up. And we handed out a ton of materials. We had a bunch of students come up and talk to us. We signed people up for public library cards. It was really fun.
So we ended up only getting 676 students, which honestly, it felt like 6,000 because they were running around everywhere playing games. And it was an awesome event. It really was. But I'm still so grateful for the cavalry coming and saving us. And then they also got to participate. We brought them back for the library house open house, which is our annual event. And we saw 386 students there as well. And they got to play trivia.
The most difficult trivia on accident. It was really cute though. They like bonded over how hard the trivia was. It was not intentional. So we've also gotten to do a Perler Bead program, which is just kind of low-key crafts. Again, it's stuff that we already had on hand at the public library. So it's something we could just bring and set up right there in the lobby that the patrons could walk in and be like, what is that? What's happening here? And then the most recent thing we've gotten to do is this marshmallow spaghetti building contest, which is it's a STEM challenge that we've done with teens where you bring dry spaghetti and mini marshmallows and you just kind of give them stuff and let them build towers. And the idea is to build the tallest tower, and you can give them a time limit, but it's adorable anyway. We had 30 students actually participate in that one.
And it was really exciting. They got really into it. And so because a lot of these events are have been mostly fun and creative, that's intentional on our part. A lot of these events were taking place during exam weeks or during high stress points, and they want a break, and that is okay. That is what we are here for. They're going to be taking breaks anyway, so might as well be with a library program. And then, well, they have been fun. There have been some educational aspects to it, but so far, just for the EBRPL events, we've seen 73 students. My personal favorite was the marshmallow spaghetti building contest. I had no idea what to expect when Darcy was like, let's try this. And she brought out marshmallows and spaghetti noodles, and I was like, I don't know the students are going to be interested in it. And they were so into it. They would start building these towers on their own. And then like students would walk up and be like, what are y'all doing? And we would tell them, and they'd be like, oh, I don't really have the time. And then someone would be like, if you want to come help me with my tower, that would be great. So like people that didn't even know were like working together. My favorite was this group of students at the very end. I wish I could point, you could see it. They actually won. They were just like, we're just going to build blocks and stack the blocks. Like they had a game plan. There was like a small group. We let them come up with team names, and then we'd measure how tall it got. So we'd be like, all right, are you ready for measuring? And they'd be like, oh, not yet. So it was really fun. And just to see these students working together, students that, like I said, some knew each other, some didn't, but also this educational aspect to it, what made it work, what didn't make it, what didn't work, was really fun.
My favorite event by far has been the library house party. That is like, it was huge. It was crazy. That's something we could never do. And we never see that many 20-somethings ever. It was a remarkable night. And it was, you could tell that all of the students were really having fun and kind of bouncing between the different stations that were there. Also at the end of the night, there was this giant karaoke moment where they all kind of gathered and sang along together. It was a beautiful time.
Yeah, this house party was intense. And Darcy and her crew, like they had Wesley, who's my partner, running the Jackbox station, virtual reality everywhere. They were cheering on each other. It was really a special bonding moment because these were all freshmen who didn't know each other, who didn't know anyone, and they just came in and they were like, oh, I'm gonna make friends this way. So why does any of this matter? What's the point of this? What is the point of us partnering? So ultimately, this is a win-win partnership. We are taking resources and kind of distributing them between the two buildings and saying, okay, we're not competing for this. This is a mutually beneficial thing. So LSU doesn't have the same type of programming budget that they have. There's so much that they get to do that we don't have access to. And so, like, I learned so much stuff from what Darcy is doing. Like, every day I'm just like, oh, this is how we do this. And so we're constantly building those relationships. We're learning so much from each other. It's good for stats. We say any program that has one student is a successful program, but we would have anywhere, from one student to like 30 students or even more, depending on these bigger programs. And so I know, Darcy may have something to say on that, but we really are building a relationship between these institutions and getting that communication going. This would not be a beneficial partnership if we didn't both get something from it. We didn't want to waste anyone's time going into this. And so this is something that we both see success, like, okay, this is a win-win for both of us.
Yeah, Randa is and LSU libraries in general is so good at building that community and kind of holding their students together to really feel like they have ownership over their space. And I am constantly learning about that because we want our patrons to absolutely feel community and ownership of the library, but we see our 20-somethings so sporadically. So it's such a interesting and amazing thing to watch her kind of build this community right there in front of your eyes. And it is a huge boon to us for stats, especially. Randa said one student is an excellent program for us. I've definitely run 20-somethings programs at our library that nobody shows up for. I'll go stand out in the lobby and harass people, and they're like, no, I'm leaving. So it's been amazing to have this kind of new group of people to reach out to. And a lot of these students they don't even know the public library exists. So it's super exciting to be like, oh my gosh, we have this for you. Please come.
It really is a disservice for us to not co-promote each other's services, especially because students that live on campus have access to EBRPL's collections. They have access to the resources. So why not? So literally when one of us shines, all of us shine. So this is a win-win partnership for both of us. Also, we're creating educational opportunities within these creative events. So we're taking the time to promote our library resources with each other. We're sitting down with our students, and this may not be as effective as these 600 person events, but I feel like those smaller connections that we have with students are honestly more important. We're showing them that these resources exist. We're leading them to them and saying, hey, okay, while you're making perler bead art, let's talk about your major. Let's talk about what your needs are. Okay, I see you're really stressed right now. Do you know that the Student Health Center exists and that they're mental health resources? Oh, you want public reading, or you want public, you want
popular.
Popular, thank you. You want popular reading material? Well, we don't really have that, but guess who does? The library, and you should go there. So we're teaching students that these things exist, so that whenever they have a need for it, they know that it's there. And then all of this leads to student success. Literally, they're learning about the things in their community that can help them and that can benefit them. And those students that reach out and build those connections will graduate, or more likely to graduate. So we introduce these resources so that when they're in the situations where they need them, they can use them, and we keep doing it. And then again, this engages with the community. This helps build those connections with each other, and that leads to success. Also, Darcy made a good point. I don't know if you want to talk about how it humanizes.
So one of my favorite things about working directly with the patrons, especially away from the desk, is that they are so much more willing to talk to you. I see this a lot with the teenagers I work with, on my regular during the day job. The desk can be such a barrier for them to want to come to talk to you. So you can remove yourself from that space. They are so much more willing to chat. And then once you've started that, once they have beaten you at Mario Kart because you're terrible at it, they're much more willing to come and talk to you because they're like, oh, that lady's not scary. I kicked her butt at Mario Kart. It's fine.
Yeah.
So it kind of lessens that anxiety.
We have some of the same students that come to every single program, and they are so jazzed about it. They're like, I'm coming back for this. Give me your handouts for this. I want to know everything about everything. And that's exciting. And those are the students that are going to be our best, our best voices of promoting the library. Is, you know, the best advertising is word of mouth. So positive word of mouth is even better. Okay. So this quote is by Barbara Exbach. By providing opportunities for students to make connections with others on campus and participate in activities that foster effective learning practices, spark curiosity, and engage them both academic and socially, the academic library can have a positive impact on student learning and personal development. So honestly, at the end of the day, we are here to make better human beings. And if we do that through small creative events like roller bead art and spaghetti marshmallow building contest, then hey, we're going to keep doing it. Again, why this matters, we're reaching community. So again, students that may not even know each other are talking to each other. My favorite is pet therapy, which is not necessarily a partnered event. Well, it is, but not, you know, with EBR. But just seeing these students come together and sit around a circle of dogs and just start chatting with each other, and then they start sharing experiences of like, oh my gosh, you went here, I went here, or oh, I'm going through this really stressful thing, so are you, that's awesome. Oh, we love perler bead, I did this when I was a child at camp, me too. So they're really connecting with each other, they're talking to each other. We're getting them out of their, you know, digital lives and putting them into the real, you know, getting them to really interact with each other, and that's awesome. Also, this is fun. During exam weeks, that's stressful, and they're going to come to the library either way, so we might as well help them take breaks. It's okay for young adults to relax and have fun. Relaxing environments help with tests. And if this is the only break that they're going to take today, aside from maybe eating, which sometimes they just eat and study, y'all know that, why not have it be something somewhat relaxing or somewhat fun? If it's a video game, they're also, you know, hey, by the way, do you know that these research guides exist? Or do you know that you can learn this stuff through the public library? So there are other opportunities available there. And ultimately, we are creating a sense of belonging. They start to feel a sense of ownership in their library and then their place on campus and their community. So they're going to stay connected with each other, and this creates that sense of belonging. I don't know if you have, okay.
You got it.
Okay. And then why this matters. So library as a place, this all goes back to the idea that this library is more than just a place to study. Libraries are third places. This goes through Ray Oldenburg's book, Great Good Place. Your first place is home, your second place is school or work, and your third place is where you choose to spend your time. So libraries are natural third places. There's a whole list of characteristics, and if you've ever heard me speak, I've probably talked about it before. So this is a neutral ground. This is a place where students have something in common with each other, and they meet needs. And so libraries are meeting their needs, and programming is one way of doing that. So we are not just these warehouses of information. We've been evolving to be these social centers, and public libraries have been doing this already. People already see public libraries as social centers. So it makes sense for academic libraries to also be these places as well. Sarah Sims made this really wonderful quote, and I'm going to mess it up, but she basically said, by supporting student spaces, you're supporting student learning, which I think is just brilliant. Yeah. Oh, did you want to talk about, oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. So my favorite thing about libraries third place is that it's opening it up accessibly, right? So a lot of third place discussion about third place, especially in the Oldenburg's book, is about these places of commerce, which is great, but the library offers this opportunity by being free and open that anyone can come and do these projects. So we have people who aren't students coming to at least the EBR partnership programs. And even the other programs, you do have to, for statistics reasons, a lot of times you'll need to see a student ID, or if it's like the house party was very late at night and for safety reasons, we definitely wanted to make sure that those were students. But for the most part, everything is open and available. If you come into this LSU library or the public library, these programs are for you. And by making them free and open, it's kind of cementing that option as a third place.
Yeah. All right, so people who frequent third places create community. The open conversation, relaxed atmosphere engages them and makes them the focus of the third place. The conversations generated make them feel like this is their place, a place created for their use. The personal relationships that draw people to the third place, along with these relaxed atmosphere, develop a sense of community. Montgomery Miller. So this is the picture taken. So fall 2017. This is during Hanukkah. So it was like during exam week, and everyone was very stressed and tired. And I was walking through the coffee shop, and I saw the student, and he had out his menorah and was celebrating with his friends. And during finals week, late at night, and I just thought that this was such a special moment of just sharing culture and community with each other, and taking, you know, a stressful event like finals and using it as an opportunity to share something and with their friends. And I asked them if I could take a picture, and of course they said yes, and they were very excited. But what a wonderful opportunity. And students are already creating these opportunities. They're already, like I said, there. We might as well meet them where they're at. So programming of tomorrow. What does partnered programming look like during COVID? I have so many notes on this slide, and it's just, it goes on forever. So we had this wonderful program planned for the spring. We had several events planned, and between just getting sick, not with COVID, but then COVID happening, we were only able to do the spaghetti marshmallow building. But right now we honestly don't know everything. I mean, y'all are all aware, everything keeps changing by week. Every time we think we have something solid figured out, someone says, well, actually. So right now our focus is just surviving through this pandemic, just getting through it. And, you know, we definitely want to do partner programming during the fall, but we're just not sure quite yet what that looks like. EDR has, like, Darcy's been doing these fantastic trivia nights and like virtual games and stuff. She's fantastic at this, and I'm trying to get that at the library as well, but just like things happen. Did they also have these like awesome grab and go things?
Yeah, we've been doing so with regular teen programming, and we're starting it out with 20 somethings just at the library locations, doing these kind of grab and go projects where it's like a craft project or a STEM project or something that's like packed up and ready to go, and it's accompanied by a YouTube video that we have recorded awkwardly about how to go through the project. So we want to try and make it as much like coming and doing a program as you can. But it's hard, and it's hard to find stuff that's going to like fit easily into a bag and that we can afford and all that kind of stuff. So that's one of the things we're looking at trying to do maybe at LSU in the fall, is giving those out. But you just don't know. It's hard to make plans right now.
Yeah, it's really, everything's scary. But also this partnership has opened the door to other potential opportunities to work alongside each other for outreach. So public libraries have lifelong contact with students and human beings in general. Like, they start out, there's kids programming, there's infant programming, baby programming, and then you have your teens, and then you have your 20 somethings and your adults. So there really is a great opportunity for us. You know, universities maybe only see students for 4 years or more or less, but this is an opportunity for us to, you know, work on building and scaffolding those research skills early on, and then, you know, kind of buffering them and helping them throughout their lives. We would love to have more educational programming in the future. It just hasn't happened quite yet. I really want to maybe do a class on like conspiracy theories or something fun like that. We also have RIS librarians, research and instruction services librarians, that teach, you know, how to spot fake news. And so maybe partnering with them to have a workshop on the public, because they're great at that, and that's what they do. Also, I really want to host a program with Darcy on citizen science and like bringing STEM programming into the public library, and like, what does that look like for public libraries? I think that'd be really fun. Also, you know, what does programming look like with Gen Z coming in? So there's this like graphic about Gen Z that we got from McKinsey and Company, and like, they don't define themselves one way. They're very big on expressing individual truth. They're communaholics. They're radically inclusive of each other, connecting through different truths, which is like literally what libraries are there for. Dialoguer, so have fewer confrontations and more dialogue, so understanding different truths. Again, perfect for libraries. And then realistic, live life pragmatically. Again, we are perfectly primed to just help Gen Z out. So basically, we're going to continue doing what we've been doing as far as like our creative events, and just continue to build on it. We've only gotten really 1 year of programming done, and I'm excited to see what the future, holds.
One of the other things about Gen Z is that they have a hard time separating. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
They have a hard
no.
time separating between their work and their play areas. It's a lot more combined already. So we're trying, by doing this kind of programming where we sit them down and do something fun, but we're also like, hey, here's some resources you might need in the future. We are meeting them where they are by combining their work and play already. So that is like one of the best things that we can keep doing for our new incoming Gen Z little students. Yeah, now you can roll.
Sorry.
It's okay. So this is like the lightning recap on actionable how to do this. So how to start a collaboration. The first thing you have to do is decide you want to start a collaboration. You're maybe already halfway there. So then you need to look at your own programming, kind of assess. So you need to look at your resources, what you already have going on, what your budget is, what the rules are about this kind of thing. Every organization is different. This is probably where you will first ask permission to be like, hey, can I go and bother these other people to come do things with us, please? But you need to look at what you already have going on. So the next thing you need to do is establish communication with either your public library system or whatever you're looking to collaborate with, and ask around. I know that this is, for me, the hardest part is like finding the person you actually need to talk to and who will talk to you. It might take a while. You might just have to go wander into your library and be like, hello, do you know anything about programming for this age group? Please talk to me. And then hopefully they can help point you to your contact.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to find your contact person who you're actually going to focus on working with. So once you've found your contact person, you need to have that initial discussion. And it's good to bring your big guns of like, here's why it's going to be useful for both of us. You can bring this PowerPoint if it would be helpful to you. But you need to make sure you're ready to maybe not convince them, but it's good to have that, like, this is going to be great for both of us to do, and here's kind of what I'm hoping to do. And then once you've like established that this is probably going to happen, you have to experiment. What we have done might not work for you, but there's tons of good stuff out there to do. So that is your 6-step lightning process on starting a collaboration.
I'll also add that you need to be prepared for why this is good for both of you, but also be realistic about time and commitments and expectations. Set boundaries that are healthy, and like set those boundaries early on, and be open with communication. If something isn't working, talk it out. That's the biggest, like, hey, I'm feeling weird about this. Can we talk about it? Or like we had one program where Darcy was sick, and she just like every week it was just like she was just not feeling good, and we kept trying to reschedule. And I was like, you know what? This is okay. Like, take care of your health. We will reschedule this event in the future. So, just being open with each other and allowing space for those conversations. And also get weird with it. Experiment, try new things with your collaboration. Things that you think might work might not, and that's okay. Failure is not necessarily failure. It's just an opportunity to learn something didn't work. And what works one semester might work completely different another semester. Or, what students want one time, they might not want the next. So it's all about just experimenting and playing around and just figuring out, what does a partnership look like for you two? And is it going to be beneficial? Is it, if they may not want to play it right now, and that's okay. I also want to say that there are times when you'll hear no, and that's okay. Some people just don't want a partner, and that's fine. However, sometimes it's a no and they mean not right now. So I always try, I'm big on like, let's try again at another time. So like new bosses, new people in positions, new circumstances, new things going on in the universe that are like, hey, this program would fit really well with what the current dialogue is right now. These are all excellent times to find some space for collaboration. So yeah. All right, that's all we got for you guys today. Are there any questions? And then also here's our sources. And I can't see the chat, so I don't.
Let's see, there is a question in chat. So did you have a turnout of African American or Latin American participation? I know we had a turnout of some African American students for sure. I honestly, I'm not sure it registered very well for me. Everything's a phase.
So a lot of our programs, the wonderful thing about them is they're open and there for whomever is in the library at the time and whomever's walking through the door at the time. And we do have a really good diverse like student population, so none of these are necessarily aimed at like one diverse group or the other, but we do get students of all types that come in, and that's the fun thing about creative programming is that you don't necessarily, it's not meant for just one type of student. Perler beads kind of appeal to everyone. But
okay.
not saying that in the future we might try to do more, I don't know yet.
Focused programming, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Has this led to program information for students who are new parents? Not specifically that I know of. That's not something that we have. I can't remember a question being asked about it, honestly, and it's not something that we have focused in on yet.
Yeah, we see a lot of like 18, 7, I mean, not saying that these groups can't have kids early on or anything, but like it's like 17 to somewhere in the early 20s, and a lot of the kids, see, I call them kids, a lot of the students they're not quite there in their lives yet, but we can direct them places. Sometimes, we're there to help direct students to the best resources, and just knowing that there are things like on our campus that are good for first-time parents. Sure, we can help them.
We have a lot of kids. We have a lot of kids services through the public library too. So I would be very excited if someone asked about it, or that's definitely something we can incorporate in the future, because there's a ton of good stuff for new parents and people with toddlers. God, story time is the best.
Yeah, just identifying that, if they come up to us with that need, and just being like, actually, there's Tiny Tots at LSU, or maybe, there are public programs through the library. So just identifying those needs, and then identifying the resources and partnering those students with those resources is something we do regularly.
All right.
Thank
Do
you,
your
Randa.
college students?
Oh, I'm sorry. We're saving questions for the
Oh,
end.
sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. That's all right. But I want to thank you so much for the presentation, and we're going to get back to questions at the end. I wanted to see if Julie, are you ready to go ahead? There's Julie. I see her face now.
There we go. If I turn my mic on, it would help too. Okay. Let's see. Let me go ahead and get this up. I'm sorry, my presentation isn't nearly as much fun. Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Julie Schiavo, and I am a librarian at LSU Health Sciences Center in New Orleans. I'm technically the assistant director for dental library services, so I am a dental librarian. Can't get much more specialized than that. What I was here to talk to you guys about today is writing for readers with low literacy. We've kind of worked it out to a 4-step process that makes it sound like it's really quick and simple and easy. It's not, but it can be done. So what you really need to do is prepare, develop your concepts, develop your content, and then pre-test and revise. I have a few examples in here. They are from a website that we got started. One of the pediatric dentistry faculty members and I wrote a grant, and we developed a website for parents of children with systemic diseases and how that can affect their mouth, because a lot of times the doctors that they see for their systemic conditions don't want to look above their neck, and sometimes oral conditions can play a big role in those pre-existing conditions. So we went ahead and wrote up some stuff, and we have it in a website, which I will give you the link at the end in case you want to take a look at it. But that's where my examples come from. And I will also warn you that every time I look at them, I see something that I should have done differently. So they're not perfect. I don't know if they'll ever be perfect. Okay, so if you are going to write for a population that has a lower literacy level, the best thing you can do is start by preparing. Preparation takes a while. You want to keep your audience at the center of everything. You have to think how might they be thinking about it when they read something. How might they think? Sometimes your audience may take things literally. They might be thinking in more concrete, immediate terms rather than abstract, futuristic terms. You also have to be concerned about the language you're using. Your reader may not be fluent in the language that you're reading, or they may not be as fluent. And sometimes they might have problems processing the information. When you're thinking about your audience, you want to think about their unique characteristics and their culture, because culture plays a big role in how they might interpret something that may seem simple to someone who is, fluent, a native speaker in English. For instance, I thought this was a good example. If there's a poster in an office and it has a greeting in Spanish, but then a message in English, it may say to take a pill once a day. Well, a Spanish speaker may interpret that as taking 11 pills a day, as opposed to only one. So you have to think about that when you are writing for low literacy. Okay. Be aware of pre-existing knowledge. What does your population already know about the topic? And are there any misinformation or rumors that are prevalent? How do they feel about the topic? If you are going to write something about, let's say, getting a vaccine, and your population is someone from a group that believes that a vaccine is going to inject a chip in you, and that way the government can track you, you probably want to try in some way to address that. That's not what's in the vaccine. So you really need to be aware of what could already be out there about your topic. And as I said, focus on your readers. An expert might create content at about an 11th or 12th grade level and then decide to make it low literacy. And it's much easier and better if you start with the intention of making something that is for lower literacy readers, and then create the content. Because when all is said and done, everybody responds to messages that are simple and clear. Okay. Finally, you want to, you probably will feel like finally after you finish all the preparation, you want to develop your concept. You're starting to get to the good part there. Define your behavioral objective. You want to know what you want to accomplish. You want to have action points. you want to make it interactive. Determine what your key points will be, what will motivate your readers to take action. Your distribution method actually plays a big role in your concept. And are you going to do this for a web page, or are you going to do this for something that's in paper? Is it going to be just sitting on a rack, or is it going to be something that you hand to someone? Is it going to be something that they may choose to print out? Also, is it a one-time thing, or is it a long-term use? You'll have to use, have to think about, if something is a pamphlet on a rack waiting for something to pick up, you want to make sure that it is very attractive and catches people's attention. And that could be without just, catches people's attention without reading what it's going to be before they pick it up. Okay. Decide on your reading level. I wish I could say one set reading level. Some experts say that low literacy materials should be between 2nd and 5th grade level. Others say 3rd to 6th grade level. You want to try to keep it in that range. It's hard. I don't really like using grade levels because reading level calculators they have some problems. Sometimes they might judge reading level based on this length of a sentence as opposed to the complexity of the words. Sometimes it might be a combination of both, but it's really hard to say. And who's to say what a perfect 5th grade reading level is? So when you're developing your concept, you want to make sure you organize your topics in a way that the reader will use them. Present your most important points first, and try to keep it to just a few topics per handout or flyer. You want to make sure you have a very clear and ordered format. You can even label it step 1, step 2, or first do this, second, third, last do this. You want to make it very specific and actionable. Use main headings and subheadings to give the reader their steps on how to go through your brochure. Then you want to develop your content. Developing the content is the fun part. When you are developing your content and your visual design, keep it interactive. You want to think about that and think about how the audience can be involved when they read your brochure or your information. Try to use peer language when appropriate and to help increase identification with your product. There are people who write like 5th graders for a living. Get into some very heated discussion about peer language, especially when you're talking about medical topics. Try to make sure you use words that are familiar to your readers, but you have to be aware that sometimes you will not be able to, and sometimes you have to define a term in there. Keep it simple, specific, direct. Use active voice when you're writing. And as I said before, clear and logical sequence. Use concrete examples, not abstract concepts. And then make sure you highlight and summarize the important parts. When you're developing your layout, use organizers and headings. Headings should be simple and close to the text. You also want to balance your text, your illustration, and your white space. Some people will say you should have up to 50% of your page as white space. That makes it easier. It makes it easier to look at, easier to read. Write in sentence case, don't use all caps. Using all caps makes it very difficult to understand, not just because it's you have to think about the letters more, but also because you it kind of puts a barrier between your eyes and your brain and what it actually means. Use an easy to read font, at least 12 points. I've also seen that as 16 points. I think a 16-point font in a document is kind of big, but if you know that your readers are going to have trouble reading, be it they might have a visual impairment, 16-point might be great. Serif fonts are better for printed materials, and they're also better for the body of the paper. But sans serif fonts tend to work better in electronic materials. And you can also use them for headings to bring specific attention to a certain heading. When you are developing your visuals, you want to think about them and make sure they are relevant, meaningful, and logical. You want to make sure that a picture is close to the text that describes the picture, and also try to caption them. Make them simple and free from distractions. You don't want to put a lot of extra information in there. Try to use familiar images that reflect the culture of your audience. And use cues to point out important information. You can use circles and arrows or boxes, things like that. Also, you want to keep in mind that your color palette is not only pleasing to the eye, but also accessible to the greatest number of readers. Keep in mind that a good portion of the population may be colorblind. So you want to stay away from using, let's say, a yellow-blue color scheme. And also, I had said earlier to be hesitant with readability, but I would say also go ahead and put your content through a readability calculator, but be aware that they're not perfect. Okay, this is one of the brochures that we have on the website. I pulled this one because I wanted to show you the text is nice and big. We did use a serif font since this is a PDF. There's a link that you can print out. You can click on it to get a PDF of all of the topics. It's divided up with, the first part is in italics, which I probably shouldn't have it in italics. I probably should have a box around it or something like that. And that's something that I'm going to fix. And then we also try to put something up at the top that is very important, that if the parent who reads this only gets one thing out of it, it would be this right here at the top. Do not put anything in your child's mouth if they're having a seizure. There are other things that are important further down in the brochure, but if you only get one thing out of it, that's what we wanted. Let's see. So this is another one. This is these are questions and answers. We used a question and answer format to make sure that the information is easy to get to the reader. We used questions that the clinicians have gotten a lot when they are practicing with their patients. That's where our questions came from. Okay, the next step, pretest and revise. It is a never-ending story. You will constantly be pre-testing and revising. Try to get the people in your target audience to look at the documents and then get ideas of how what they think of your document, and then based on their feedback, revise it and try it again. You might not want to use all of the feedback. They're your audience, but they're not experts. While you do want to use their feedback on what makes sense, you might not want to use their feedback when it comes to the actual message. They may not like the message. And often one person may say, I don't like the way you have this arranged in the screen. And then the next person will say, this makes perfect sense. So you need to keep in mind that one person may like it and one may not, and it's often for the same reason. When you're doing your pre-tests, you want to test for comprehension. Do they understand the text? Do they understand the visuals? You want to make sure you're not offending your audience. You want to make sure your material is compatible with the local context, the local culture, and it is realistic. If you are trying to reach a group of, let's say, a Hispanic community, and you're trying to give them recipes, let's say for a diabetes diet, and you don't have any food that is traditional in a Hispanic household, it's not going to get to where they're not going to respond to that content. You also want to make it suitable for your audience. You need to keep that in mind, especially when you're writing for teens and seniors. You want to make sure that your teens don't talk down to them, but then you also want to make it interesting towards them. And seniors are very much the same way. You want to test for attractiveness. You want to ask them, is there anything you don't like about the pictures or the people in this material? Do you like the color scheme? Would you pick something up that looks like this? Because you need it to be attractive in order to get their interest. And then finally, based on their feedback, you want to revise. And you want to test again, and you want to go through it, revise it, and test it again until you find something that you really like and that your readers respond to. This is the first page of our webpage, and as you can see, we have links in there to surveys because we're still trying to get their information. We're still trying to get their opinion on it and what can we do. We're also looking for more topics and how they think we could grow. So that's why, we're still trying to revise and test. This was a section that we went through quite a bit of revision and testing. We got information. What we did is, after we had our nearly finished drafts, we went into the clinic and we had a pad, and we pulled up the website, and when people were sitting there and weren't too busy, we're sitting in the waiting rooms, we went to them and said, will you take a look at this and let us know what you think? And when it came to this section, this is on hemophilia, children with hemophilia. And we had a lot of words in here that people didn't get. It didn't quite make sense to them, what we were trying to get across. So it took a lot of revision to come up with this. And I have a feeling we're going to be changing it again, just based on what people will tell us. some things that you might want to think about as you're going through trying to write for a lower literacy group. Do readers need to know technical terms? Well, maybe. There isn't really an absolute answer. Sometimes you do need to put the technical term in there. And if you do, what you might want to do is put the common term first and then put the more technical term. Don't put it in parentheses. You'll want to separate it in the sentence, as in a heart attack or what doctors might call a myocardial infarction. You also have to think about familiarity. If your reader, let's say your reader is a patient's caregiver, and the patient has hemophilia, they are going to know some terms that are associated with hemophilia already, because that's what they live. And so you need to consider that those technical terms might not be so technical for them, but they would be for someone who isn't familiar with the situation. That can also really mess up your reading level if you run it through a reading level calculator. Okay. How do you get experts to accept a low literacy level document? When a content expert looks at it, they may be kind of taken aback by, this looks so simple. And they may not be real enthusiastic about it. But what we found is the best thing that you can do is give them evidence, show them that 80% of your audience will respond better to something that is clear and simple. And there's lots of evidence out there that shows that if you write things in a simple and clear manner, your patients are more likely, or your readers are more likely to respond to it. Are pictures easier to understand than words? Well, again, sometimes. That's a big thing with culture also. There are some universal symbols that test well. In the United States, a stop sign is pretty ubiquitous. Most people, if they see it in a document, they're going to know that's a stop sign and that's something that you shouldn't do. A big X or like the Ghostbuster symbol, the circle with a line through it, those are pretty universal symbols, and those test well that people do understand them. But sometimes pictures can just confuse. If it's something that's open to interpretation, it can confuse your reader. So that's where testing and retest. What do you do if you have several concepts that you want to present in one document? It's best to keep it to a smaller group, but if you have to put them all into one document, use lots of headings and subheadings and groups. Also make sure that they are organized and logical. And you don't always need to use color. Color is a great way to highlight points, but if you were going to run something off on a copy machine, then you may lose your color. And so you want to make sure that things can be focused in other ways also. You don't always need illustrations, although they can be very helpful. Okay. This is my bibliography. These are some really great places to look for tips and tricks for writing for lower literacy levels. This last one, Teaching Patients with Low Literacy Skills, that is a fantastic book. I wish it has been updated, but it hasn't been updated since 1995. However, you can get it fairly cheap on Amazon since it's kind of old. So I would definitely suggest checking that one out. This is the website that we have been working on. I don't have a link to it specifically anywhere yet that I can give out, because getting something added to a university website takes an act of God at times, and we're still negotiating. So please, if you think something like that would be good for your population, please send them over there. Give them the website and send them over there. And take the survey, give us ideas. I've got 2 pediatric dentistry residents who are very, very interested in translating our topics. We have 9 different health topics, and they're interested in translating them into 2 different languages. And I just said that, just one more thing that I want to throw in. If you are translating a document, don't translate it word for word, rewrite it. Have someone that is fluent in the language and familiar with the culture rewrite the document. You can inadvertently come up with some things that are very offensive or off-putting to your audience if you're just translating, because different cultures look at things differently. And so I don't know if my residents really realize what they're getting themselves into, but they've volunteered, so they will. I'll put them to work. Okay, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope this provided you with some more information, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. I know we're going to do questions all together. Okay, I will stop sharing my screen. There we go.
Thank you so much, Julie. Let's see, I'm getting the questions now, I think. We had a few more for Darcy and Randa. Let's see. Looks like we're working on it. Let me see. Somebody did ask if y'all would make your slides available. So if y'all would be willing to do that, that would be great.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, we can do that.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Let's see. Somebody asked if the college students like these kinds of public library programs, if they're into it.
Oh yeah, I always tell my programming committee, like when they're coming up with programming ideas, that especially during exam weeks, if it's like something that a 5-year-old would really enjoy, our students would probably also really enjoy it, and not trying to infantilize, not trying to make these students feel like they're children, but at the same time, they want comforting things, they want easy to do things, they want things that are quick, they don't take very long. I think most teenagers, most young adults at that age really love hands-on stuff, and even the stuff that we've done during not exam weeks have gone over really well. So crafting, DIY Play-Doh, the perler beads, like I said, we had 30 students play the marshmallow spaghetti building, so they seem to like it.
Yeah. I still have perler beads at my house that I do occasionally when it's like, no, I just need a break.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Danny said that when she was a librarian at SEMO, they set out crayons and stuffed animals for their students during exam week.
Yeah.
It was very popular. Yeah.
Anything tactile, soft, stuff with like our sand is a really popular thing, or the rice, like tactile rice,
Yeah.
aromatherapy, all of that stuff is really popular. But anything that students can take a break and for 5 minutes do, like the video games. Oh yeah, they were very into that.
I can imagine. We have a question here for Julie. Are there tried and true ways to find test readers to give feedback? Have you had to offer incentives to get people to give you feedback?
We have not offered incentives because our grant wouldn't allow it. But I think incentives would actually give you better feedback. I believe a focus group and you need to incentivize a focus group. But I believe a focus group would probably give you your best feedback. But we went into the waiting rooms in the clinic with our trusty little tablets. We were able to buy some Kindle Fires because they're cheap. And we just went to people and asked them to take a look at it. And when you're standing there right in front of them and they're sitting there and they know that they're bored, they generally will take a survey for you.
Someone also asked, Julie, I know you said that sometimes pictures are not as helpful in conveying information when writing for low literacy. Have you considered or tried the use of comics and graphic novels to convey your message rather than straight text?
We have, yes. That takes quite a bit of work. Comics and graphic novels are a big undertaking, and we weren't able to do that. But that is actually a very good way to reach people.
Just the effort that goes into it, I guess. Yeah.
Yes.
Or, let's see. Someone asked for Darcy and Randa. I know of partnerships between public libraries and schools, but do you think academic libraries would be interested in partnering with school libraries? Have you done this before? What would the academic library look for as far as the collaboration, as far as how the collaboration is beneficial to them?
So actually, Sarah Sims and Christina Caminita did a program where they went to I can't remember what school it is, y'all, my brain isn't working, went to a public school here in Baton Rouge and was teaching information literacy classes. And I think that for us, the benefit for that would just be any opportunity to teach that information literacy skills and to help, because I know sometimes with school librarians, y'all got so much going on that it's just like, you have to worry about computers and you have to do all this other like nonsense that's like important but not library stuff. So anytime that you can partner with someone whose job it is to teach information literacy skills, it might be helpful. But yeah, they do that and all the time, and it seems to go over really well. And I think these students might have been like honors students, so I think there was some like they were like AP students or something like that. But yeah, I think anytime we can get out of the building and reach someone, I'm all for it. And I'm sure that a lot of people would feel that way as well.
I do think it would be an excellent thing. So the teen department goes to some of the schools to like talk up various new books that are out there. That's kind of our main source of partnership with public schools right now. But I do think because a lot of the students in our public school system are kind of on that fast track to LSU through the DOPS program in a lot of ways. So I think it'd be really, really cool.
Great, thank you. Do we have any more questions? I'm looking through the chat, and at this point, if you just want to ask the question directly, if you want to unmute, you can do that as well. Not seeing any more questions. This was great. Thank you guys so much. This was so interesting. The collaboration aspect is that's so interesting and so fun. And then writing for lower literacy levels is something that I'm very interested in specifically. I work at a community college and we get students coming in sometimes who we want to be able to reach out to them, but we have to meet them at their level sometimes. So this was a really good, really informative, exciting presentation. We will be back again tomorrow, same time, same place. It's a different link, so that you should have all gotten that URL, that invitation. We also have a feedback for today. Where we're asking for some feedback from you, if you wouldn't mind. As you can imagine, this is a crazy new way that we're doing it 100% online this year. So it's just a little feedback form that I've sent you, that I've dropped it in the chat. So if you wouldn't mind filling that out for us, we would really appreciate it. And I'm also going to drop the link again to our networking forum if you would like to partner with anyone, especially after these great presentations today. If you've got some new ideas about what you might like to be working on, I'm dropping the link to that networking forum. It looks like in the chat, it looks like maybe just one long link, but it's 2 links in there. Eventually these presentations will be made available online. Again, thank you so much for participating, and I look forward to seeing everybody again tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.